Okay, welcome to the CEN show, Voice of the World Community. I'm your host, Rasaki Maskani, and I would like to introduce the panel to you. We have Professor Amin Ra, Brother Mashinda, Brother Hembrick, and Brother E. And we're expecting Tori to come on. So this evening we have Bennie Tinson back. He's a part of LARCA. That's an organization that helps the mental illness with housing. And so, Bennie, welcome back again. And tonight's topic is residents with mental illnesses at risk of becoming homeless. Okay, Bennie, you can get started.
Thank you so much, brother, for having me here again tonight. Again, my name is Bennie Tinson, and I'm the Executive Director of the Licensed Adult Residential Care Association. I have a presentation to share with you tonight. I am the Executive Director of LARCA, and this is my contact information. I do look forward to keeping in touch with each and every one of you and also answering any questions tonight after my presentation. And I have an open door policy. And so if there's any questions after tonight, please feel free to contact me. I'm here tonight because we are in a crisis, and I want to share with you about the crisis that we are facing as we see more and more facilities that provide care and housing for those who are low income people. And when we define low income people, we're talking about people who are 200% below the federal poverty line. These individuals don't have anything. They are at risk of becoming homeless. Many of them have already experienced homelessness, and now they are at risk again of experiencing homeless as the facilities that they're living in are at risk of closure. But before I talk more about the crisis tonight, allow me to share a little bit about LARCA and who we are. So LARCA is a nonprofit, community-based membership association. LARCA represents currently over 350 facilities in Los Angeles County that provide care and housing for some of Los Angeles County's most vulnerable residents. Again, these are residents who are considered low income and who are living with serious mental illness. The association was formed through a partnership between the National Alliance on Mental Illness of Greater Los Angeles County, which continues to serve as our fiscal sponsor of the association, and the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. And so we represent adult residential facilities. Those facilities have residents that are between the ages of 18 and 59 that are living with serious mental illness, and residential care facilities for the elderly provide care and housing for those residents who are 60 and above, so our seniors. These facilities are dedicated to providing housing and services for residents living with serious mental illness and or receiving the SSI payment. Now, LARCA is a community-based organization, and so if you're a member of the community and you want to join us, you can also be a member of LARCA, because we not only represent the facilities, but we also represent the families and the residents in these facilities. We have 350 facilities throughout Los Angeles County, and these facilities care for more than 15,000 Angelenos across the county. And we'll share more information tonight on how you can also be a friend of LARCA. Here's a summary of our core functions. We have three primary functions that this organization serves its members. It's through advocacy, education, and we also provide member benefits and discounts for our members. Our mission is to serve our members and the community. We champion resources for facilities and their residents, meaning we are fighting for funding and also the resources that the facilities, the owners, and the operators need, as well as the residents need to be able to ensure that they can meet their basic daily needs. We build increased public awareness and support for housing and health solutions that serve vulnerable low-income adults and the elderly living with serious mental illness. And we're also the voice of these 15,000 residents across the county, as well as the 350 state licensed. And I want to underscore that all of these facilities are state licensed, which means they have gone through a rigorous background check and are regularly monitored by the Department of Social Services Community Care Licensing Division. So the crisis. Let me talk more about the crisis because tonight we have thousands of residents that are potentially at risk of being homeless. And when we say thousands, we're talking in excess of over 10,000 residents potentially that could be at risk of homelessness tonight. And so recently we received a report from the Department of Social Services. Now, it is by law that the Department of Social Services is required to report the closures of facilities that care for low-income people that are living with serious mental illness. So this is not a new issue. We have been fighting, and advocates have been fighting going back to 2009, as we have seen more and more of these facilities close. You should be aware that in the 1960s, the state of California began to close many of the mental health institutions. Some of the one of the facilities that you may be aware of is Metropolitan State Hospital. These residents at one time, in many cases, lived at Metropolitan State Hospital. But when the state began to not fund these facilities and move away from this model of housing individuals in large institutions, they decided that they would move these residents into the community and utilize what's called a community-based model by putting these individuals in the community in a residential-like setting. And so now these individuals that are living, these residents that are living in these facilities are at risk of being homeless because these facilities are at risk of closing. And so recently, the Department of Social Services announced that there was 27 of the facilities that care and provide housing for people living with serious mental illness that closed just in the first quarter of 2023 in Los Angeles County. So we had 27 facilities closed. We're still trying to find out from the owners what happened to the residents. Now, we know that many of these residents oftentimes are not connected to their family members. And so it's likely that they could end up on the street. So we're still trying to find out where are some of the residents. We know that some have been placed, but going through the list of the closures, we have not been able to contact all of the owners to find out whether they were able to place their residents or not. So 27 facilities closing in one quarter is definitely alarming for all of us. It should be alarming for all of us in this state and in this county. Now, to underscore who are these people who are at risk of homelessness. Now, the residents are majority and overwhelmingly African American because many of the residents that are diagnosed with mental illness are diagnosed with schizophrenia as well as bipolar, which African Americans, we are disproportionately represented within this population. And so we should be concerned because this is our brothers and sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our cousins, our neighbors, our church members, our mosque members. This affects our community. If it affects anybody, it affects our people, our community. And so we should be concerned about the closures of these facilities, but more importantly, making sure that these facilities do not close. So let me go deeper down into the problem of why these facilities are closing. So the way it works is that these residents receive an SSI check from the state. Now, the funds come both from the federal government and the state government. So the state of California provides a match to what the federal government provides in terms of the SSI payment. It comes out to be $44 per day. If you are diagnosed by your doctor with a serious mental illness, meaning you are diagnosed with bipolar or schizophrenia, you get $44 a day in order to provide for yourself housing and care. $44 a day, I don't think I need to spend a lot of time convincing you. $44 a day is not a lot of money. It's not much to live on in Los Angeles County. When an average motel room is $125 a night, and we're not talking about a 4-star, 5-star hotel. We're talking about a sleazy motel in Los Angeles. There's nowhere you can go just for you to cover your housing for $44 a day when the average motel is $125 a night. And so these individuals are expected not only to have housing for $44 a day, but they're also expected to eat on $44 a day. And I can surely tell you, and I know you know, that that's not a lot of money. Once you've paid for housing, you don't have any money that's left over for food. And you know that food is expensive today. Now, if you are diagnosed with a developmental disability or intellectual disability, and in most cases, African Americans are not diagnosed with these types of illnesses. But yes, we do have people that are diagnosed with developmental disabilities or intellectual disabilities. But when it comes to mental illness, our people are overwhelmingly diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia. And so it means that they get the $44 a day. If you happen to be diagnosed with an intellectual disability, and yes, I'm going to say it, and you're white, in most cases, you get $177 per day up to $384 per day. So these individuals can find places to go a lot easier. Those who have $44 a day, they have a hard time even finding someone who's willing to take them. So right now, this is the budget of a typical member facility of LARCA. And so you have to account for staff time. Remember, these individuals need help with meeting their basic needs. So you have to have staff. There's no one that wants to work today for $16 an hour. You have to pay for utilities. These facilities range in sizes. Some facilities are as small as 6 beds in a residential facility in a neighborhood. Others are much larger, about 100 beds. They're more like a facility. But this is a typical budget for a 6-bed facility. So you have utilities, you have electric, gas, water, food for 6 individuals. You got to have supplies for laundry and housekeeping, office supplies. You've got to pay a mortgage. and you also have to pay your licensing fees. So the total is $22,710 for the month. Those are all your expenses, and notice it's in red. It's in the negative because you're only getting $44 a day, which is $7,920 per month total. You have expenses of $22,000 a month. There's just no way for these um, operations to continue. We have some very, very dedicated members. One of them is Beverly Brinson, who's the owner of the local M&Ms. She not only runs a successful restaurant, but she also runs an adult residential facility. And speaking to Beverly, she also is struggling, but she's able to make it like many of these other owners because they also operate other businesses. But without those businesses, they would definitely be losing. This is another one of our members, Desiree Alvarado, and her mother, who has a home in Pasadena. They have a 6-bed facility in Pasadena. It's pictured there. They were featured in the Los Angeles Times on the front cover this past weekend. On the front page of the LA Times. The LA Times did an in-depth story on Desiree because she is also considering closing if there's not an increase in the daily rate that the resident receives. She just cannot continue to make it. And so the LA Times was covering her story. Now, in that story, because this is the other part of this is a very complicated issue. The other issue I want to share with you is that the state of California has allocated money for homelessness. We see on the TV, we read in the newspaper, all of these billions of dollars that have been allocated. And so the question should be, where is the money going? And so in the article, and I will share with you the article if you have not seen it, but in the article, it's pointed out that the money that the state has allocated specifically for what's called the Community Care Expansion Funds has not trickled down to the operators and owners of these facilities. However, it has gone into the hands of the big developers. This money was supposed to be allocated to help these businesses and to help these residents. But what has happened is that the money has been instead given to developers to continue to develop housing, and it's not necessarily going to keep these facilities open. And so when we looked at who's eligible to apply, we saw that there were a number of requirements, and particularly one of these requirements is what's keeping and preventing many of these facilities that need the money in LA County from getting the money. So the facilities, not only do they have to serve one qualified resident, they have to be in good standing with Community Care Licensing Division. They have to have a critical need for the funds. They also have to go through an application process. But this last point here, they also must serve at least one of Los Angeles County's enriched residential care residents. And so digging a little bit deeper to find out how many of the facilities in Los Angeles County are currently housing one of the LA County residents, we found that there are very few. And so that makes them ineligible to even receive the funds. And so out of the 350 members that we have, only 37 of them, so less, about 10% of them are even eligible because of the requirements that the county has put in place. We can't even get the money. But we are the people who are taking care of the most vulnerable residents. So this is what we're asking the state legislature. We are talking now with the governor, and members of the state legislature, because we need immediate action from the governor and the state legislature to prevent these facilities from closing. We don't want to see further closures of these facilities. And so what we're asking for is, in the short term, is an immediate infusion of cash to these facilities. We're asking for $2,000 per bed as an immediate measure to keep these facilities open. Desiree and others are contemplating closing by the end of the year if they don't get some assistance from the state. So we're asking the state, take $2,000 per bed. Let's give these struggling businesses, which are primarily minority and women-owned businesses, let's help them with an immediate infusion of cash, a stimulus to keep them from closing. And so we're also asking for implementation of the 1915C waiver so that those who are living with bipolar and schizophrenia, they get the same resources and funding that's made available for people with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. What we're saying is that we should not have this inequitable system that disproportionately impacts African Americans. We should not have residents who are only getting $44 a day when we have other residents who are predominantly white who are getting much more money. All people should be treated equally. That's what we're saying. So this is the number. Again, only 10.5% of our people, of our members that are members of LARCA, are even eligible to apply for the money through the CCE, Community Care Expansion Fund, that the state has sent to the county. So we are in a crisis. We're appealing to the state to divert funds. We keep telling the state we're not asking for any additional funds. We have heard the governor. We understand that he does not want to allocate any more ongoing funds because of the situation in the budget. What we're asking the state legislature and the governor to do is to divert the money that they have allocated for capital improvements. You see, the community care expansion funds, all that money was for capital improvements. It does nothing to help people. It does nothing to provide for the care of these residents. And so we want them to divert that money from capital improvements to the residents. We will be going to Sacramento in August. We're inviting our friends to go with us. We will be taking a delegation to meet with the governor as well as the speaker and the chair of the various committees, the budget committee in particular, August 22nd through the 23rd. And so we'll be joined in Sacramento because that will coincide with the National Alliance on Mental Illness California rally and conference that will also be taking place in Sacramento during that time. And so we know that during that time, everyone is going to be talking about mental illness in Sacramento. And so we are positioning ourselves to be there in Sacramento because we must deliver for these residents. These facilities cannot continue to close. We just cannot sit by and allow them to continue to close. Mayor Bass is working very hard and trying to place as many residents as she possibly can within the city, but the city cannot do this alone. It's going to take coordination between the county, the state, and the federal government. And so we will also be appealing to the federal government to also provide more resources for these residents. These are some of our sponsors. And so if we do have friends that are interested in going with us to Sacramento, we do ask that you join LARCA as a friend and reach out to me and we can arrange so that you can possibly go with us. We have been fortunate to receive a lot of support from our partners, including the Hilton Foundation. Cedars-Sinai, the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, as well as the National Alliance on Mental Illness and the Board of Supervisors to make it possible for us to continue to advocate for our residents and our facilities. So I'm going to end there and see if there's any questions or comments or reactions. Thank you.
I would like to go to the Sacramento.
Hey,
Okay, yeah, I was hoping you
okay,
did.
that this is Miss Tori Bailey. She's also an advocate for the homeless. She's also a team member of the Community Education Network. Would you like to say a few things before I go to the other people in the panel, Miss Bailey?
Uh-oh. Yeah, let me see. I think I disappeared on you again.
No, you're here. Can
I
hear.
can't see you guys anymore. This is
We
so
can see.
weird.
I can see you fine
You
and hear
see
you
me?
fine. Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just say we met with city our council uh district yesterday on some issues about the mayor's plan that's currently being executed. So Monday we're supposed to meet with the mayor. Tomorrow I have my city homelessness meeting, and uh let's see what else. And then we're supposed to meet with the service authority on the 8th. But we gotta briefly meet with her on Zoom Friday morning as well. So we've been very busy with giving suggestions on how this could be a lot better, how the money won't be so wasteful, and maybe they can allocate it in other areas. Now, as far as the county supervisor, Holly Mitchell, is concerned, they have created this new group called La Casa. I think it's LAHCASA. But there's a group of about 9 to 10 of them, and they supposed to be there for preventative measures. So uh, that's another group that needs to be contacted and see how their plan is and how their processes are working. They're very new. They just came from Vienna looking at models over there of how they do their housing, and a lot of it is regenerated or repurposing, shall I say, a lot of their old buildings into new facades. So it's really cost effective, and I looked at a lot of the photos. So that's another avenue that we should take as soon as possible. So
Okay.
Benny, maybe you can do this presentation tomorrow on the city call. And I wanted one of the girls that are unhoused to come on board as well if she doesn't get nervous or anxious at the last minute. So that would be a good combination of
Mhm.
information to the public.
You know, we have a lot of brothers that are coming right out of jail. And so when they come out of jail, the other part of this is workforce development. So
Yeah,
some of the residents, they're at various levels. So those who can be retrained or get some type of training and, job placement, it
yes,
does a lot to help, get them up and going and feeling good about themselves
right,
again.
right,
Okay.
yeah,
So that needs to be part of the discussion because not everybody is unable to work. Some of these men
right.
and ladies can work. They
So
want to work.
somebody was mentioning to me a place called Amityville,
Uh-huh.
and that helps with them with housing and workforce for those who are recently out of prison.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one resource. And then, of course, you have Susan Burton, and you have some others that are working directly with those who are coming out of prison, right away.
Mhm.
Yeah. I know a couple other people I could connect you with from that avenue.
Mhm.
And a matter of fact, there's a group that's meeting tonight
Mhm.
that put a couple of people to work last week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because
So,
in the article that was in the LA Times on Saturday, there
mhm.
was a young man in the facility, in Desiree's facility, that was featured. He went to the community college. He just graduated, from the community college. And so
All right.
uh, more of that, like connecting some of these residents into the community college so that, they can not just sit in the facility, but they can do
Right.
other stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Same thing with interim housing.
Yeah.
They should be utilizing more services for them
Hmm.
right now.
Hmm.
Okay, we're gonna see if some of the panelists have questions. We're gonna go to Brother E. Brother E, do you have any questions for Benny or Tori?
Where am I?
Yes, sir. Okay, how you doing, Mr. Benny?
All right.
There we go.
Okay, so you saying you want to open them facilities, keep them facilities open instead of, permanently closing.
Hmm.
Okay, within those facilities, who are you planning on housing with them? And if so, how are you going to get them to go along with your plan to get help for themselves?
Well, all of our facilities, they are currently caring for residents that are living with serious mental illness. Um, Most of our facilities have been operating for years. And so they are in this business because they really care for the residents. They don't make a lot of money. I've gone to the facilities, I've gone to a lot of these facilities, and I've always wondered, well, why do you continue to do this? Because looking at their balance sheets, they are definitely in the red. And so they're motivated. And so that's why we have gotten a good response from our membership of even going to Sacramento. These are typically women owned businesses. All right. I have three African American sisters who are now deceased who started their businesses in the 1960s. And now their families are continuing the business. And so there's deep roots here. They do this business because these people become like family to them. See, once they're placed in these facilities, they're there for life. Okay, they stay there for life. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, what about so you saying the severely mentally ill? What about the ones that are on the street right now, homeless ones that need to be brought into a facility? You have any suggestions what you can do with them?
Yeah, overwhelmingly, I'm not going to say all, but a majority of those who are homeless are also experiencing some type of mental illness. But for those who are not living with a mental illness, we also need to have better coordination between LASA so that we're not putting individuals per se in shelters, but we're finding the right type of housing that meets the needs of the person. And so when we talk about housing, we have to be careful of what we're saying and what we're talking about because many of the residents that are homeless, they're not in need of just housing, they need supportive housing. So there has to be a supportive element that comes along with it because once you've been living out on the street, it's very hard to make that transition from the street directly into a home. And so sometimes there needs to be an 18-month, 24-month period that's set aside so we can bring these people, back into society. And so they have to go through a process of getting reacclimated to the basic things that, most of us, we do on a daily basis.
Okay. Ms. Bailey, you have anything to add to that? You're on mute.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know. I was moving the mouse around. Uh, Benny pretty much covered it from that aspect, but they're right. If they would utilize the services that we have right now and use that time to help them to understand daily living, understand. I'll give you an example. Sunday we helped place a girl, and the lady said, "You cannot come back at dark." She left, went to her storage, lost track of time. Now she don't have anywhere to live again.
Oh no.
Just like that. But we gave her about $94, and I guess she probably used that to eat with, because you can't just randomly get a hotel for that price. And so she had $22 to go with it, and probably that's all the money she has now, waiting on her next month social. She's disabled. She cannot work, so waiting on her disability. So that's pretty sad because they had units that she could have moved into, and they was gonna let her live for a month for free. I mean, just that's a severe mental illness right there. So she called me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I don't have anywhere to go. I said, well, at this point, all I can tell you is go over there to Denny's because she was on Century some kind of way. So they go over to that Denny's and sit down there and have you some breakfast till daylight comes, and then check that hotel that's right there next door, because you had a place, and we sat there with you for hours. So at this point, she needs your assisted living, Benny. I mean, she really does. And so, and then I have another one. I already found the ADU that you referred to me for her. So I think that's going to be a good match for the other lady. But I have two more single females with two children each. Well, I'm going to say one right now because the other one didn't have a phone. So I have no way of getting in touch with her. So that's another thing. These free phones, we need to have somebody that could be, make house calls, so to speak, so they can fill out an application right there, and they can have a phone to do the things they need to do to get housing. So it's a cyclical gap filled
Yeah.
system. And that's what I've tested out the mayor's system. I've tested it out more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. And the plan that they have in place makes no sense. You have a team that's on call 24/7, yet if you call them at 4:31, they have nowhere to place them. So then what? The plan really should be, if they really were concerned and this was emergency, the plan should be that you get all their information when you're out there with them on site, and touch base with them first thing next morning and have them come pick them up and take them where they need to be. If this was really a state of emergency, that's what would be happening. And people wouldn't be going on vacation for 5 days
Mm-hmm.
for 4th of July weekend. It really doesn't resonate with us. So we have some work to do.
Telling me.
So yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go to Brother Machinda. Brother Machinda.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, no, just taking it all in. I've heard Brother Billy and Benny and Sister Tori speak before on these issues, these serious issues that we all encounter in our societies, and it's just amazing. Every time I hear their report on what's going on in real time, up to the minute, what's going on in these streets and as relates to homelessness, and I just want to continue to give them all praise in terms of, their, what they're doing. You got two real live foot soldiers. We see homelessness as we drive under, wherever, past freeway systems, under the bridge and side of the road, walking the streets and things like that. And we've known people or know people who've been homeless before and things like that, but to stop and just to hear, to pause this moment and just to listen to somebody who's working with these issues on a day-to-day basis, it's totally amazing, to hear from people who are actually in the trenches trying to, solve some issues within our people, in society. So I can't give, it's not enough praise for that. My question to both of them though is like, what do you do to keep from losing your sanity? How do you wake up every morning and go into battle? I'm sure you have your success stories and, you save one, that's a good thing and all that. But what do you guys do to actually, or what kind of impact does it have on you mentally and physically? How do you cope with what you encounter on each day? And that's for Brother Benny and Sister Tori.
It's draining. I'll just say it's draining. Um, when I encounter, and I get to know the person, it's really sad because it's our people that's overwhelmingly impacted. Uh, and I mean, when we're talking about women, the latest report, it's African American women, and they're older women that are left out on the streets and they are dying. Okay, so this is a serious issue, but I said this last time, and I really at some point want to change the conversation to stop talking about closing and talk about how do we open up more of these facilities, especially in our community. But I can't really have that conversation with you right now because on paper it doesn't really work out. But if we can get the, daily rate increased, this is something that we as a community should be looking at. How do we open up these facilities to take care of our own people?
Yes, hey, how you doing?
Tori, the same question to you.
Oh, well, I'm supposed to be meeting with a group of investors to buy a hotel. So I'm trying to work on that for one thing, like the people that have the single moms with the children and the single, whether it be male or female, because everybody's not on drugs and alcohol and everybody's not mentally ill. So, but there is some impact of mental illness at some point for the justification of how you're thinking to get to this point in the first place. So I've been pretty good at identifying where they need help and just try to tweak it a little bit to make them think another way and to see how the outcome is. So far we've helped a few people that's been in their places for about 2-3 years now. So I know it works, but it's a matter of the process that we have here now. That's like, wow. So I had a meeting with one of the agencies, and they asked me how could the churches help or how could these organizations help. So they sent a little check the other day. I was surprised, and so I'll be able to help like bridge that gap when someone's waiting on their place or something and they don't have a place for a week or two. We should be able to help them sustain those few days, or I'm gonna see if I can pay 30 days. I got one lady who's willing to let them have her house while she stays in the ADU that she built lately. So I have these resources, but and then like the one Benny referred to me, he's just waiting on a certificate of occupancy for just the caulking of the bathroom. So now we got to go to his city council person in their area and ask to push that permit forward, because right now you got somebody out on the street that could be laying in her head in that ADU. So, and as far as me taking care of me, I do get sleep, but I do work with about 60 women in the evenings. Like I got to go to work tonight at 11. But I tell you, on average, it's only about 8 to 10 of them that's up during the hours I'm there. So I can't even imagine all 60 up at once. so, so it's not stressful. We have security, and I've learned the behaviorisms of most of them that are there and up at night. So they listen pretty well. They pretty much follow instructions. For those who don't, like the spoiled brats that's only children. You could tell that they've been spoiled all their life and didn't really know how to do anything on their own. You just have to be like kind of commanding with them. And like I have this red tape on the floor in the office and say, you're supposed to be on that side of that red tape. Don't come, don't come over here trying to give me a hug or none of that, right? so, so I just make it fun and address the issues as they come. They come down wanting breakfast at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I say, what you see out there on that table is what it is. That's it, right? And they like, oh, so they learn how to eat what's there or wait till 9 o'clock the next morning. So you just have to put your parameters and give them the daily choices. Because what if you're on your own at home? You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. If you don't have anything to eat, what you gonna do, right? So we gotta teach them how to live on their own and be self-sufficient. And of course, that's not going to be 100% of them. That's for sure. A few of them may have to come over there with Benny for the assisted living because they're not going to be able to live on their own. So I try to just get a sleep, enough sleep for me, and make it fun interacting with them as they are learning how to survive with daily living. Funny thing is, a couple weeks ago, one of the girls just came in and asked for a toothbrush. So I said, well, here's a toothbrush that has a little toothpaste in it, right? She said, oh, I don't like that one. I don't have my scissors. I can't open it. I said, oh my God. So I took the little toothpaste out, took the top off, showed her how the little point on the other side of the top opens the toothpaste. Something that simple. She said, "Oh my God, I never knew that." I said, "There's a lot of things you can learn every day, And she said, "Oh, thank you, thank you." So something that small, she was grateful for because she was trying to figure out how she was gonna open the toothpaste without no scissors. So you see what I'm like, wow. So I'm like, it can be just that simple to make somebody happy. so, and then you have others that it's a little more difficult, but you make it work. so, it's just amazing.
I take
But
my hat off to both of you. That's
yeah,
that's that's amazing. But I
yeah.
mean, I work with kids, so I
Woo.
I know. But
You say the
it's
same thing
it,
over and over again.
Well,
oh it's
these are just larger children.
That's it.
yeah. I call them grown kids. That's what I
yeah.
call them. All right. Thank you for that. Let me go to Brother Hembrick. Brother Hembrick.
Yes, evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Appreciate the work of you guys are doing. I have a question. I think I asked this the last time, and the difference between the two categories with the funding. The second category, what developmental illnesses are they talking about with that second category to get more money?
Okay, so developmental disability would basically mean retardation. So
Oh,
those who are living with retardation. Intellectual disabilities, there's a long list of them, but most people will be familiar with the movie Rain Man. I don't know
yeah,
if you've ever seen that movie. All right. Asperger disease, that was considered an intellectual disease. Um, Most Black people are not diagnosed with Asperger,
No.
or let's say an intellectual disease would also be autism. So there's a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
buzz around autism. Everyone wants to give money and support autism, okay, because there's been a lot of white people that have had autism and they've been really vocal about getting the support. Okay, so those are the kind of diseases we're talking about. We talk about intellectual diseases. Most Black people end up getting into the system through, in most cases, prison or in
That's
jail.
true.
Okay. And so it's just my belief. Now, this is not me talking as the executive director of LARCA, but this is just my belief that when our people are in the system, that the psychiatrists and psychologists, they rush to diagnose our people with schizophrenia and bipolar, but they are actually suffering from other diseases, but they only um, primarily diagnose our people with schizophrenia and bipolar. Now, is that because they only get the $44 a day? It could be. I believe so. It has a connection because, it's easy just to give someone a bipolar schizophrenia diagnosis and move them on down the line. But there needs to be more study there because all of our people are not just impacted by schizophrenia and bipolar. So that's other work that, we've got to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
Mhm.
not only that, shows like Law and Order, one of the attorneys had the Asperger's.
Mhm.
So they it's hardly any shows that you see with schizophrenia and all of that. And so it was funny. I ran across a girl the other day that said she almost got the shock treatment. They took her to a mental facility, and it's so funny. She made some phone calls. She just happened to have some connections. So she made some phone calls and they did not give her that shock treatment. But that one of these days we all need to take a trip up to the Museum of Psychiatry. I have a friend that does the tours up there. You got to see what's going on. But it's so funny. The same hospital that she was put in, it's really like a resort. You would never know it was there unless you know it's there. They used to call me, and I didn't even work there at the time. Just the consultant that was working with them knew I knew how to translate the codes for reimbursement. So they would call me to get the codes for the diagnosis they were looking for their clients. I said, well, I'll be darned, you know? And so, but I helped them, periodically. But uh, there's a lot of, shall I say, not marketing, but there's a lot of community involvement with us for autism now. They have an autism office right on Vernon and Crenshaw now.
Mhm.
So yeah, so a lot has been uh, made aware for the community. So that's one thing. But I'm gonna tell you, when I tell you the book is this thick, you know, full of codes and diagnoses, they just stick with the same old diagnosis when you know there's a lot more
Mhm.
diagnoses out there with similar symptoms. So that's one thing that the general public is not aware of. And until they understand that, will we ever make a major change in the system? Or we need an advocate when they go to these hospitals and go to these doctors. Because I did a project at Men's Central Jail one time, and I asked the psychiatrist, I said, now it's interesting because I walk through this corridor every day and I noticed the behavior of some of the same guys is totally different from the day before. I said, how are you monitoring what medication you're giving to them at any given time? Then he got to explaining the uppers and the downers and the da 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 da, and I'm like, that's not really a sufficient response that I'm looking for, but I'll let you go with that for now. Then the next day I will ask again if I see the behaviorisms are different, because I was there to analyze their records to look and see what kind of medications, what kind of coding we could put on it, for reimbursement for the jails. So, man, I tell you, it's different. It's a whole nother world out there. And I've been kind of working on both sides so I can see what's happening on the inside so you know what to say to make a difference and close these gaps.
Yeah,
Because we could go even deeper because
Yep.
when they are diagnosed, when our people are diagnosed with these diseases, schizophrenia and bipolar, then they're given what are called psychotropic
Yeah, psychotropic
medications.
drugs. Yep.
So once you
Psychotropic.
get on these drugs, which are mostly experimental, and they have terrible side effects. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So it's really difficult then to transition off of these drugs. So
Right.
the pharmaceuticals, they call me every day. All
Mm-hmm.
right. The pharmaceuticals call me every day because they want, access to our residents. So
Mm-hmm.
they're trying all of these experimental things. So it's important to get that diagnosis right,
Yes.
so that they're not, we have young men that are African American that are attorneys that live in our
Yes.
facilities.
Yeah.
We have African American men that are accountants. They went to
Yeah.
college. It affects every,
Yeah.
walk of life. It's
Yeah.
not just those who are criminal or in the criminal justice
That's
systems.
right. That's
It's
right.
everybody. And so when you're asking me, how do I get my support or how do I make it? I'm also involved with NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, because I
Mm-hmm.
also have a relative that's suffering with many relatives that have mental illnesses. And so the NAMI network is a large network of support.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multicultural just
Mm-hmm.
setting. When you come in, you'll see all these people and families that have loved ones who are living with serious mental illness. And so we, support each other. We have group sessions that we also, as family members attend.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done NAMI peer groups just so I could, see what's happening in the community, in the immediate community, and how they are getting help and destigmatizing this and making it like a workshop. So something you had mentioned just now with the psychotropic drugs. Oh, a lot of times the psychotropic drugs will cause lethargy, which is extreme
Uh-huh.
tiredness, right? So
Yes.
even if somebody did try to have a conversation with them or communication, you would think, what is wrong with this person? Because they just barely can hold their head up, right? And so a lot of things, um, and a lot of the psychotropic drugs have suicidal ideations, which means they are more likely to attempt suicide and to, um,
Mm-hmm.
most of them it says cause harm with others, but it's mostly cause harm to self.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was telling somebody, if one more person tell me they're gonna commit suicide, I'm gonna put them on some kind of suicide watch because I know 3 people that have done it already. And I'm like, wow. And one was an attorney. He wasn't practicing, but he was doing things out of the ordinary, like playing a video game. He never played games before, but that was part of the problem. He didn't have a balanced life. Everything was work, 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 work. And I did a paper on effective work-life balance, where you can work, but you also have to have some relaxed time and downtime as well. If you don't do nothing but go sit down
Amen.
at the beach for a
Yes.
while.
You're right.
So yeah, so if you don't have a
You're right.
balanced life and all you want to do is work, that's not gonna work for long term.
Yeah. My second question is, I this lady, actually, she's a retired counselor from the district, and she was trying to see if I had contact with some former students of mine who are, doing quite well in the music industry and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was asking her about her organization that and I think hers is basically homelessness. And I
Mm-hmm.
back and sent me an email of all of the stuff about her organization that she's running and what was their 501c. And I never heard back from the lady. So my question is most of the agencies that are involved in this have 501c so that people can deduct their contributions that they make?
Most of them are,
Mm-hmm. Most of them are.
but like myself, Benny, Lark is it 501 or
Yeah,
what
we're
is?
501c3.
Oh, okay. Well, see me, I'm an individual, so I'm not, but I wouldn't take the money either. It would be, I would make it sure you funnel it through a church or through somebody like Benny or somebody like that to reach the client directly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a question that you ask before you donate. And then Even if it's not a 501 and you make a donation, you can still put it on your taxes.
Hmm.
Right, as long as you got the name of the agency and all of that.
Well, yeah, a receipt or what something. Yeah.
Now, if you want to join LARCA, now that it's free. There's no charge of joining us. All we ask is you just
Oh,
sign up. So we don't charge anybody for membership.
you ain't tell me
Uh, yeah,
that.
we don't charge anybody for membership. It's all free. We're community based. So that's why we have our supporters that, fund us.
Okay, so when you sign up, what does that entail? When you sign
Right.
up, what do you do after that?
Well, what it entails is you will be then able to access all of the latest news from LARCA, as well as join us in whatever actions that we are doing. So we'll be doing a number of actions, including going up to Sacramento. But it's not going to stop there. There will be some local actions that we'll be doing here in Los Angeles County. So you'll be able to be invited. Also, when we have our annual conference, we'll be making sure to um, honor and acknowledge all of our friends that have supported us and been a part of our actions throughout the year.
Okay. All right. Professor Rob, are you available?
Yeah,
Okay.
Bonnie
So
County, Bonnie County, Tori, it's good to see you.
You too.
Yeah, welcome, Brother Benny. Just have a couple questions. And as Brother Hembrick and Machinda said, we appreciate y'all, your work that you're doing as far as helping those that need help.
Thank you.
Uh, but I wanted to know, when you say you provide them housing, so this is group homes or multi residential areas where people have beds in them and things of that nature. Is that the type of housing?
Yeah, most of our housing, when we talk about housing, we're talking about residential like settings. So, like on the picture that I showed you with our board member Desiree, it's a home. Looks like a home you would
Yeah, yeah,
find on a block.
and that's because you have what you call severe mental illness. That's different from people with, various mental challenges versus severe. And severe, when you put the severe in front of it, it makes it even more difficult to house.
Yeah.
So you put them with other severe people. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So you also have to have a staff. So these people can't be left alone. You have to have one staff per every 3 residents.
And you saying 350 have just quit and stopped doing it, or was that 10,000?
No, we had 27 facilities closed
Yeah.
in just the last quarter, but we have a total of 350 facilities that are members of LARCA currently.
Okay.
And they're overwhelmingly of
300.
that 350.
You have
Yeah.
350 members that are housing people.
Yes.
Okay. And most of them have people that stay there with them and they pay them a staff. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Now there's some owners that actually live in the home with their residents,
And a
24
staff.
hours a day,
And a staff.
7 days a week.
And a staff.
Sometimes they're the only staff.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The other thing is when you say they get $44 a day, what is the resources they? How do they get that $44 a day to live on?
So the check comes directly from the state to the resident.
A $44 check.
$44 a day, which is $1,320 a month,
So
approximately.
that's the Social Security. Is that what
That's the Social Security check.
And so out of the Social Security, they get $44.
The $44 is you multiply that times 30, so that's per day. That gives you $1,320 for the month.
Yeah, 1,300 for the
Mhm.
month, but the $44 that you were saying they're living on come out of that.
Yes,
Um,
yes, sir.
Now that's what needs to be fought for,
That
to
needs to
raise
be
that,
increased.
because the average person gets about 900,
mhm,
right? So
Mhm.
why is it that these people only get 44? Because they never worked before?
Most of these people have never worked before.
Yeah,
All right, so that's why they get the minimum.
right. Ooh, we gotta
Well,
work on that.
yeah,
But they're disabled. They
and
can't work.
it's hard to get on.
Yeah.
What, yeah, it's hard to get on. You got to have a doctor and some of them have,
Yeah.
surgery. What is AB 1766?
So AB 1766 is a piece of legislation which basically requires the Department of Social Services to do an annual report to the governor and the legislature, letting them know what's the state of these facilities. So there's a list of about 13,000 facilities across the state. 3,400 of those facilities are in Los Angeles County. They've all been identified as facilities that are potentially at risk of closure.
Okay. Well, okay, I want to go back to the $44 a day. You said it comes from the state, but Social Security is federal. Is that correct?
Yeah, so let me explain it this way. So um, the federal government sets um, a floor, basically, of what they provide for Social Security,
Mhm.
and then the state matches it. So it's almost like the minimum wage. You know, there's a federal minimum wage, and then the state of California puts a supplement on top of it. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what increases it. So it's the same thing. It's the same, it works the same way with the SSI. The federal government sets a minimum payment standard, but the state of California then puts a premium on top of that. And so the funding is coming both from the federal government and the state government,
So those are two separate sources.
two separate sources.
Okay, so but my question is, okay, if the state matches it, if the person
Sheesh.
gets 900, they get another 900. If they get 900 from Social Security, the state gives them.
No, no, no,
Oh
no.
no, that was
Go
me.
ahead.
I said that the average person gets 900 from Social Security, but these people get 44 because they've never worked.
Mhm.
When the 900 are people that actually have had jobs along throughout their lifetime until they retire. But I don't understand, Benny, why your clients don't have SDI, the disability insurance, in addition to the SSI. Why is that?
Yeah, because they've never worked,
No,
so
no. Oh,
they're
because
not
no one
eligible.
paid into it.
Yeah, they haven't paid into it. So these
Right.
people, most cases, have never worked and they're disabled, so they never
Mm,
can work.
mm,
Then you have other people who are temporarily disabled and they may get a $900 check.
And
right.
so these people also qualify for food subsidies and
Yeah.
health. Uh,
Oh, like
No,
Medi-Cal, Medicaid.
no. So they do not qualify for programs like CalFresh. So if
What?
you live in a facility, you don't get CalFresh. All right,
Oh.
because that money, the state determines that that $44 a day is enough to care for you and feed you. So you're not eligible for that.
Oh
You don't get
no.
that. Now, your health care, you get Medi-Cal, okay? But in terms of CalFresh, no. So that's one of the things that we're trying to change, that these
you,
people should also
you
get
you telling
CalFresh.
me you telling me they don't qualify for food stamps?
They don't qualify for food stamps because they live in a facility
I
that
understand
prepares their food.
it depends on what facility, is that correct? Like if you're in a one person facility, they still just give you the $44,
They give you a check of
and you still
$44.
don't qualify for food stamps.
Still don't qualify for food stamps because you're living in a facility where they're supposed to provide the food for you.
So if you're living with a relative, you can qualify.
You can qualify. Yeah.
All right. The other thing is, it's a challenge um, dealing with the bureaucracies, as Tori was talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And just getting funding. When we deal with LARCA, what is the staff composition of LARCA?
Currently, it's myself and a director of member services. And then we have two outreach coordinators that are actively working with us to go out and grow the association.
Yeah, they go and try to find facilities and
Yes.
resources.
Uh-huh.
But they can go to food bank.
Yeah, many of our members and we also have partnerships with food banks to try to make up, because they don't. Yeah, offset. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what is there another level besides severe mental illness? Because I've known a couple of people that tried to work with that, and there seems to be like sometimes violence in the place over little things that Tori was talking about. So how do you deal with the supervision? And you can't say a person's out of order because you already know they have a mental challenge, and and so you got to how do they deal with the problems? I mean, because most people don't want to call the police because
Right.
the police may kill them.
Right.
So
Right.
what is? I mean,
So besides,
what is the protocol for the people that's a member of LARCA? Do you train people how to deal with mental illness crisis?
yeah, so there's severe mental illness, and then there's chronically severely mentally ill. Okay, so there's different levels of where people are placed, um, sort of on the continuum of bipolar and schizophrenia and mental illness. So there's the chronically ill. That's a whole nother group of people. Okay, and then you have the severely mentally ill. But when you go into these facilities, it is really difficult. Just to give you an idea of some of these facilities, again, they're mostly minority owned, and they have family members that work in there. They also have people that are working under the table because the money is so low. I'm just being real with you. Okay. And so it's nothing to get hurt within these facilities. The people who work in these facilities do not have health care. You cannot afford to pay for health care for your staff when you only get $44 a day. It just doesn't work out. You don't have enough money to pay them and pay for the medical. So they're getting injured. That's the other part of it. Okay, so if you have a mental illness, sometimes, someone may hit you. They may spit on you. They may bite you. So all of these things are happening on a daily basis. All right. We don't just jump to call the police. So we do work with LAPD, and the sheriff's department.
They know you're a facility in the area.
Yes, to do trainings as well.
Yeah.
But we have to get better with the response teams because there's just not enough other response teams, especially in South LA. We need more response teams.
If a person wants to open up a facility, do they have to have special liability insurance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to have insurance. You also have to be state licensed. So I encourage anyone who is thinking about
criteria for state license.
Yeah, I would start with going to the state website. You have to be 18 years or older in order to start. You're also going to have to fill out the application and go through the background check. It's not a very difficult process to go through. You can also arrange to take a class with us. So if you're interested in starting the facility, take the beginning class so that you can learn about the process that you have to go through with the state, because it is a licensing process.
I want to go back to the question that I thought was profound that Tori raised.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't the severe, or I'm quite sure you deal with the chronic also, not qualifying for disability? I mean, it seems like that would be the issue. To get them on disability, then they can qualify for a lot of other things, and especially if they're chronic and they're on med, and you have doctors that have signed them off as chronic, and and I can see them putting a thing on it, inspecting the facility and inspecting the progress of the person. But generally, if a person get well, they'll let you know. I'm ready to move. I don't want to stay here. But so my question is LARCA working on them getting qualified? And how do you get the community and politicians not to get a petition, but to write legislation to put organizations like you in the budget? So how did that go? I mean, I know there's more than just LARCA doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even even if they have a criteria for you to qualify for the budget money out the state that's set aside and inclusive in the budget, because they're gonna pay one way or the other. They're gonna pay for homelessness,
Right.
or they can make them disability and have better supervision, accountability, and things of this nature, or do you want to just keep your independence as a 501c and don't go into state regulations to qualify for budgetary money?
Well, let me address the first issue you raised about the payment that these residents are receiving. So they are considered disabled. So they that's why they get the $44 a day. The problem is that the way we treat people with mental illness is very different from the way we treat people with developmental disabilities, physical disabilities. All right. So we have to have a system that's in place that your payment is based on the level of care that you need. See, that's how it's set up for people with physical disabilities. They get money based on what their need is. So if you're chronic, then you're going to need more money because you're going to have now 3 staff a day to take care of you. Plus, there's going to be a whole lot of other things you're going to need. So you need more money to take care of you based on your need, your diagnosis.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we're trying to fix.
Well, you're not trying to get it included in the state budget, then.
We're trying to, in the short term, what we're asking is immediate.
Our federal budget.
Yes. So in short term, state, take the money that you have for capital improvements, put it on people. That's what we're asking in the short term. Long term, we've got to go to the federal government because they have to initially give us more money in order to fix this problem.
Okay, I got another question, and then I'll be through. The LARCA, how do you enroll your patients? I mean, if they become a part of the LARCA community or structure, they're no longer independent. And so do you recruit or go out and try to encourage people to come with you to get? I mean, I don't know why LARCA is not included in the homelessness, because they're in a facility. They're in a facility. I understand they're in a facility, but being in a facility is homeless. I mean, if you're in jail, you're homeless. If you're in prison, you're homeless. That's the biggest public housing area. But you're still homeless from the standpoint of paying your living on your own.
And
But
that's
anyway,
why I started including him in all these conversations,
Mhm.
because you got all these beds sitting there empty. You got facilities closing, yet you need a bed for the people that are mentally ill who can't live by themselves. So that's the ideal place. And so I'm like, what part of this is not being conveyed to these people that can make a difference?
but see,
So,
but Tori, on the streets, you've counted them. I know you've counted the
Mhm.
right,
homeless.
and you know it went up 20%.
Yeah, but the point is, a lot of them are chronic and severely
Yes,
mentally ill.
yes,
That's what add to the homelessness.
Yes.
Although there's families and living in them trailers and this and that
right.
and cars and stuff. Got a dude out front of my house been living in his car for over 3 years.
Isn't that
Mm.
amazing? It's like, oh my God. Okay, my thing is, let's get the people off the street first, then go for the people in the cars and the RVs.
Yeah.
Make an RV park if they want to stay in those RVs.
So,
But they just arrested the lady for turning her property into an RV
Yeah,
wow.
well,
rather
yeah,
than making her clean up the place and the people clean up the place and have a standard and code before they arrest or tear it down.
right.
Their property. But anyway, I just want to say thank y'all for y'all work, and that's all Rashidi.
Woo.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Professor Ra. So now, Benny, I just want to reiterate this. You're going to Sacramento on August 23rd. What is it? 23rd?
22nd and 23rd.
Okay. And then also we had talked before about petitions, get certain things on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So when is that going to happen? Because we want to make sure that anybody that's affiliated with the Community Education Network is a part of at least signing those documents,
Right.
those documents. So when is that going to come into play?
All right. So we launched our petition. This is just a public petition. We're using the petition as a way of building our community support. So we would love for you all to sign it. We will. I can send you the link so you can just text it or email it to all your network.
Mm-hmm.
But we started with a public petition just to build and our support and build our list that we would then, once we start having actions, because we were going to have some actions throughout the county, starting in the Valley and then in South LA as well. So we're going to be calling you guys out possibly to the La Casa meeting, because that group that Tori was talking about is about preventing homelessness. So we may be asking some of you to come and support us and speak, on behalf of the community. And so the way you can make sure that we have your contact information is also join us by signing a petition. All right. And then you'll be connected to us. Does that answer
Okay.
your question?
Yes. So we will, when I get that information, I get it posted on the website
Yeah.
under community actions. Appreciate that. Appreciate both of you, Benny and Tori. And so, Professor Rod, do we have anybody for Monday? You're on mute. You're on mute, Professor Rod.
Whether his feet were good.
Yeah, you there?
Yes.
Okay, let me see some.
Stay away from those today. It's a lot of volume.
Okay. Yes. Not yet. I'll call you in the morning. I'm gonna try to I'm still trying to get stop the violence, increase the peace. I'm still working on them, and
Who was that?
Khalid Muhammad they've been in existence. Stop the Violence, Increase the Peace Foundation.
Oh yeah, you have ceasefire and second call. Their meeting is tonight. I may run over there for a minute. We'll see. But You have
if
them.
they want to come on the show, give me a call, Tori. Give them my number.
Second call.
Yeah,
I don't know who C5 is. I work for
that's Skip.
Skip.
Yeah. I can give you Taco's number. He's the one who really sets up the speaking engagements.
All right. Yes.
So,
Okay, so
I'm gonna give you my number, Tori.
okay, I'm sure I have it.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but
Go ahead.
310
Uh-huh.
505
Uh-huh.
2358.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I have him give you a call. Whichever one they decide. It's probably gonna be either Skip, Taco, or Tim.
Those are hell of a names.
I know. Well, you know what to expect. Ceasefire.
Skip, Tacos.
all right. So
Oh Lord.
okay, so on Wednesday we got our team member Brother Muko coming on again, and the title is Body Snatchers
Ooh.
Protecting Our Black Sperm, Your Black Sperm, and slash Justice Day. So that should be interesting, Brother
Well, that
Muko.
should be interesting.
Yeah, Brother
That's
Muko is
very interesting.
Yeah.
so I
Okay.
want to. Hey, I'm enjoying this. But Benny, I'm 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 thankful for you, and Tori, thankful for you, and thankful for everybody that show up here. And we're gonna keep doing this. So we're gonna
Yeah.
take our usual pause. I'm gonna say conscious quarter and each one teach one.
Yeah.
Everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.